I need to first elaborate on the reasons for our apology. We, the People's Democratic Party, is apologizing to Nigerians for allowing a movement of a people who had no plan, who had no structure, to take over the reign of governance and misrule our people.
Yeah, but that's not why you apologized.
That is. I just gave you.
Your chap Secondus
yes,
made it
our chairman.
Absolutely, your chairman, yes, absolutely clear,
yes,
that you were apologizing, yes, for the mistakes of your time in office.
Yeah. Over time in office, essentially, when he spoke about that, he was talking about the national chairman, President Secondus, was talking about alleged impunity in government, in our administration, and alleged...
So you're saying alleged impunity. If he's apologizing, then it means he's acknowledged impunity, that there was impunity. So it's not alleged.
Impunity during our reign,
okay, and
imposition of candidates during our tenure in government, particularly as it concerns our party. These were the reasons he adduced. But I'm telling you that furthermore, to those two reasons, that we are also apologizing to Nigerians for allowing a movement that had no plan, that had no structure, to take over the reign of governance.
So basically, you're not really apologizing to the Nigerian people. You're seizing the opportunity, excuse me, you're seizing the opportunity to garner some political capital from your apology.
I would not agree with you.
I thought that was an unequivocal apology.
I will not agree with you, Mr. Charles. I have said that we have apologized to Nigerians for impunity while we're in government and for imposition while our party was in reign of governance. And I said, beyond this, we have also apologized that we allow a movement to take over the reign of government in Nigeria.
Right. When you say imposition, what do you mean?
What I meant is that in time past, the People's Democratic Party did allow some manipulations in the political process, particularly as it had to do with our internal democracy.
And what about corruption, which of course is a big allegation hanging over the PDP's head?
It is not only over PDP head.
No, we're not saying about other people. We're talking about the PDP.
Yes.
I said, what about corruption?
Our party,
are you going to apologize?
Our party has come out new. Those who participated in corruption in our party have moved to the All Progressives Congress. And as such, our party has come out clean. We are a new party.
I don't understand what you mean by your party has come out clean. I mean, there are allegations that are still trailing your people. There are people from your party who are still in detention today as a result of the fact that...
Mr. Charles, none from our party that's in detention today in respect of allegation. Can you give me one name?
Well, you have the guy who was the... quite a number of people. I mean,
just give me one.
The former National Security Advisor was linked to your party.
Yes.
He was part of your party.
Yes, he was linked to our party, you are correct.
No, he is part of your party.
Yes.
I mean, most people at that time had to be members of the PDP in order to qualify to be able to be part of this impunity that you're talking about. I mean, he's somebody who still have charges hanging over his head.
I love the word charges.
Of course there are charges.
In our country, Nigeria, until you are convicted, you cannot be said to be a convict.
That's pretty straightforward.
And as I speak with you, the fact that you have charges hanging over your head, but you have not been convicted, does not make you guilty.
Yeah,
do you agree to that?
No, absolutely.
So charges does not necessarily mean
I understand
guilt.
that, but we also know that the reason that there are a lot of other collateral reasons why prosecutions have not yet been completed. Part of it is the challenge of putting forward an effective prosecution in Nigeria because of the way oftentimes that the judiciary is manipulated, and also because, hold on a second, and also because of the challenges that the judiciary faces in Nigeria, the practical logistical challenges that make it impossible to complete a successful prosecution. I am not saying...
Are you asking a question or you are expressing an opinion?
No, what I'm saying is that
I'm asking a question or you are expressing an opinion?
We're having a chat. We're having a discussion.
Good.
I'm not saying...
So these are your expressions, these are your opinions.
I am not saying that that necessarily means that the people who've been arraigned are guilty.
Clearly.
All I'm saying is that you and I know that there are innumerable reasons why prosecutions are not completed in Nigeria, beyond just whether or not somebody is guilty or not.
I guess I was invited here to discuss the issues.
Yeah, that's what we're doing.
That concern the apology that was offered by the national chairman. That was offered by the national chairman of my party. I didn't know that I came here to come and discuss the procedures in the judiciary.
No.
And I didn't prepare myself for that.
No.
And I will not engage. I will not engage in blame game with the judiciary.
I think you're a very articulate person, and I think you perfectly understand what I'm talking about. But let's move on.
Okay.
When you say you're rendering an apology to Nigerians, members of the ruling APC party are also Nigerians. Are you including them in your apology? Because as you correctly identified, maybe not you directly, but you know, your party, you left behind, and most Nigerians, I think, will agree that that is the case. You left a midden of rotten practice behind, which the ruling APC party inherited and has essentially been trying to clean up the PDP, the mess that the PDP left behind.
Mr. Charles, I do not agree with you that we left a rotten...
No, I said a midden of rotten practice.
A midden of rotten practice.
Well, you admit to... Well, you did admit to some of them.
I do not agree with you.
But do you admit to some?
And I think you are being harsh on my party.
No. With all due respect...
And with all due respect, I would not accept that.
No. With all due respect, if the APC was here, I would take as hard a line against them as I am taking against you.
I don't know how much of Nigeria you know.
I know a lot about Nigeria.
And I don't know how much of Nigerian system you understand.
I totally understand the system.
But if you surely do, Mr. Charles,
right,
you will agree with me that the economy we have in the nation today was not what the PDP left behind. You will agree with me that the bloodletting that we have all over the federation, all over the sphere of our nation today, was not what PDP left behind. So it is unexpected of you to come and say that we left a rotten system. How do you mean?
No. I am saying that. Do you include the ruling APC party in those you're apologizing to?
We have apologized to Nigerians. Mr. Charles, let me quickly
But they're Nigerian.
No, I said we have apologized to Nigerians.
Right.
But let me quickly tell you something,
right.
Mr. Charles. I want you to know that our apology, like I said, concerned the issue of impunity, concerned the issue of imposition, and it also concerned the fact that by our mistakes, we allow a movement that had no plan or structure of governance to come and take over the reign of government.
Right.
That's the point we are making.
Right.
And I want to be limited to that, sir.
Right. So now that you've apologized for the things that you've admitted to, because obviously this is selective synchronization. I mean, you're admitting to certain things and not admitting to others. Mm-hmm. What do you expect from Nigerians? Having made this apology, can I just finish? Do you expect Nigerians to say, okay, we forgive you and let's hand over power back to you?
No, it's not about handing over power. You see, that's why I say I do not understand how much of our system here that you understand.
No, but I'm asking
because if you say hand over power back to us, what of the electioneering?
No, that's what I mean. What I mean is for them to vote you back into office.
Thank you, that is appropriate.
Obviously, yes. I mean, that's pretty obvious.
Yes, sir. To allow, what we have done as a party is that we have rebranded. We are a new set of people. As I speak to you, the echelon of our party, which is the National Working Committee, as we speak today, is constituted by 70 to 80% of freshers, people who never had anything to do in the party with the past. And we are saying that we have rebranded and we have repositioned the party, and we are urging Nigerians to come into the party and allow it to start anew, afresh, a new life. and should be trusted with power. Once again, that's the direction of thought in our party.
Right, okay. Let's go beyond that, because we have to be fair in all our assessment. That's what we try to do here on Arise News. Let's talk about some of the specific issues that Nigerians take against the PDP party. One of them, for example, is the issue of Boko Haram and security, okay? When you were in office, Boko Haram controlled 14 local governments in Nigeria. They had their flags mounted, and they had taken over governance of those local governments, okay? Can I just finish the question?
Okay, finish the question.
Now, you were unable to dislodge Boko Haram. When the current government of President Buhari came into office, up to this, at this point, as I'm speaking to you, there is not one single local government, and I have just returned from Dachi, from Maiduguri, from Damaturu in Yobe State. We went on a tour of the place, okay? Not one single local government is in the hands of Boko Haram.
I do not agree with some of the assertions, and I must make that clear to you.
That's your prerogative.
Before we left office in 2015, we had contained the Boko Haram insurgency to some parts of the northeast.
But they were still controlling local governments.
Excuse me, please. They were not controlling.
You hadn't managed to dislodge them.
They were not controlling the local.
You had not managed to dislodge them.
But do you agree with me that we had contained them?
Well, I don't know. Contain is a fairly elastic term.
Do you agree with me that we had contained the
But what do you mean by contained?
Okay. When insurgency began in Nigeria,
right,
there were rippling effects in the north central and in the northwest and in the northeast.
Right.
But before we left office, before the PDP government left office in 2015, Boko Haram insurgency had been contained towards the northeast.
Well,
and what I meant by that is that the hoisting of flag had begun to cease. And you must agree to that.
Well,
and since we were voted out in 2015, you cannot charge us to come and take over the responsibility of the succeeding government.
Understood.
And you cannot hold us accountable for the failure of the incoming government. So the point I'm making to you, Mr. Charles, and I urge you to listen to me, please, is that you cannot blame us for whatever happened after May 29, 2015.
We're not blaming you.
So what we have done, what we did as a party in government was that, yes, it was strange to us. It was unexpected. We're not aware that insurgents can come into our country and operated even in Abuja City. But we also worked assiduously to ensure that we took them back to where they were coming from.
Okay,
we're pushing them further out of the country.
Can I make this point? I was here in 2015. Yeah. I covered the elections. Yeah. Arise News was in this same hotel, and I anchored that. Yes. We went all around the place. We interviewed a lot of people, PDP, and so on and so forth. And the fact is this: you postponed the election, which was supposed to take place early in 2015. Mm. You put it off. The reason you put it off was because you ostensibly were trying to contain the threat of Boko Haram, because the Electoral Commission was simply unable to hold elections in many parts of the Northeast. And therefore, can I make the point? And therefore, it was felt that you had to put in more effort in order to create, the correct environment for elections to take place in those parts. So really, the work that you did was in the last 3 months of your time in office. That's a fact. This is not
Mr. Charles.
It's not a.
Mr. Charles.
Yes.
I wished somebody who is a member of the APC had asked me this question.
Well, I'm not a member of the APC.
But since I'm not a member of the APC...
I'm an objective journalist, and I'm stating facts to you.
Since I'm not a member of the APC, the question I had wanted to ask the APC member...
you haven't answered the question.
No, I'm going there.
You're talking about answering... You haven't answered your own
Charles, I will respond to you.
Right, okay. Well, we don't have that much time, so we need to
I will respond to you. I will respond to you.
Yeah.
But the issue is this. If there were no election in some part of the Northeast, how did President Muhammadu Buhari garner the votes he got in the Northeast.
No. What I'm saying
No.
Well,
how did he garner the votes?
I asked you a question, you countered it with another question.
How did President Muhammad, you came up here, you said to me that in some parts of the Northeast, there was no election.
No, but
that's what you said.
No. That's not what I said.
Okay, what did you say?
What I said was that the PDP postponed the election
because they were
is that not a fact?
Because
the reason that you gave, the reason you gave was because you wanted to have a more reflective election across the whole of the country.
Yes.
You needed to secure the Northeast to a point where elections could be held successfully.
Yes, can you round up the question?
No, I'm asking you, is that not a fact?
Don't change the line of your question.
But is that not a fact?
Don't change the line of your question. Don't change the line of your question. You did say to me that in some parts of the Northeast, there were no elections. You said that.
No, that's not what I said.
What did you say?
I said that the election was put off, was postponed by the PDP in order to allow for credible elections. No, I said for credible elections to take place. And this happened 3 months before your party left office. And the reason you did that was because prior to those 3 months, most of the Northeast, in places where there was going to be voting and so on, at least 14 local governments have been overrun by Boko Haram. That's a fact.
Are you saying that there were no elections in those 14 local governments?
No, I am saying that subsequent to your postponement...
So you agree with me that eventually, after the postponement for a week, that an enabling environment was created to allow election to hold, and President Muhammadu Buhari won elections in those areas. That's the statement of fact.
The point is that we're not going to reach any point of...
That's a statement of fact. Election held in those local governments.
Yeah, eventually.
Which means that there were no flags being hosted in those local governments.
Right, okay.
Which means that to a large extent, PDP's government was able to drive off Boko Haram from those local governments. Okay. You agree to that?
Very quickly.
You agree to that?
Very quickly.
You agree to that?
Very quickly. I agree that elections took place.
Thank you very much.
Eventually.
Thank you very much.
But very quickly, because we're running out of time, just give us, first of all, your concluding statement, your reaction to what happened in Dapchi, the fact that when you were in office, the Chibok girls were taken, not one single one of them was ever released. The current government came in, almost half of them have been released, and within 5 weeks of the Dapchi girls being kidnapped, most of them are free. What is your reaction to that?
To the release of the Dapchi girls?
Yeah, the release of the Dapchi girls, as well as the release of the Chibok girls under the current presidency.
Well, as far as we are concerned, we have made our position on the release of Dapchi girls clearly.
And what is that position, briefly, because we're out of time?
And our reaction to that is that we rejoice with the parents of the Dapchi girls. And
do you commend the government? And you commend the APC party for what they've done?
Why should we commend?
Well, because you could. Because you couldn't achieve the same thing.
We did not commend the APC government, and we will not commend the APC government on the release of Dapchi girls or on the release of anybody abducted.